before my meeting concern, I will commend the street department for outstanding job for working to remove the snow that has hit us this past week. So that, I just want to make people know that. So I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
On favor? Motion
Aye.
carries. Thank you.
And we know that John's
But if
group
you want-
did a good
I
job.
don't know, it's up to them. Huh?
Okay.
I make the motion table.
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right.
Motion to table.
Go ahead.
Okay, call to order the Planning, Zoning, and Building Committee meeting. Will the minute taker please reflect all same members present? I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting from
Move.
January 28, 2010. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carries. All right, a report and recommendation on the Unified Development Ordinance. I don't really think we need to get into a discussion of this tonight since we've all, for the most part, just started to look at this rather large document. But I believe both Mr. Forrest and Mr. Clicker have very brief presentations to begin to get us acclimated to what we're going to be seeing as we go through this over the next few meetings. So John Forrest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Ross and I have about a 90-minute presentation, so we want to get started on this.
I make a motion table.
We'll see you.
The Unified Development Ordinance that you have a copy of now, its purpose is to replace our existing zoning ordinance that's been in effect since 1976. Since its adoption in 1976, the current zoning ordinance has served Wooddale through a time of tremendous growth, governed the establishment of our industrial parks, the development of several residential subdivisions, townhome developments, PUDs, and multifamily properties. In the last several years, though, situations have arisen around the city that have been difficult to resolve due to several shortcomings in the existing document. Many sections of the original ordinance were purposely left vague to allow for staff interpretation as the situation dictated, and also sections of the ordinance contradict and conflict with each other and with other sections of the municipal code. This opens the door for inconsistency in applying the code and, as I said, has made enforcement difficult for staff. Per direction of the council, the consulting firm of Land Vision was hired and has worked with staff, elected officials, and the Planning Commission to create the document we'll be reviewing over the next few months. Our goal was a document that's in keeping with current trends that have developed since adoption of our original zoning code, to address redevelopment and non-conforming uses, and will provide specific requirements which will determine how Wooddale will develop and redevelop through the next 20 or 30 years. It should be noted that the stormwater ordinance has been removed from the zoning code. We felt that that should probably be a standalone article in the municipal code, not necessarily included in the zoning ordinance. And then also, and Ross can probably expand on this a little bit, the Thorndale Corridor and Lakota development ordinance for our corporate Main Street, those standards would probably be added to the zoning ordinance as a separate chapter. Once a draft document was assembled by Land Vision, it was reviewed by staff with input from Alderman Kadala and Shockey. Revised drafts were prepared and reviewed and revised several times. Completed draft document was presented to the Plan Commission Zoning Board of Appeal members in preparation for their June 2009 meeting. And over the past 8 months, a systematic chapter-by-chapter, section-by-section, line-by-line review was conducted by the Plan Commission and staff, resulting in the document you have tonight. This is the final revised document that incorporates staff's comments and recommendations and those of the Planning Commission ZBA. So it's not our intention to begin an in-depth discussion of the document this evening, and I'll let Ross expand on my comments and present sort of an overview of the new ordinance.
Thank you, John. One other thing that this UDO will do.
Ross, before you continue, Alderman Roy Wesley, is this something to do with what John just said?
Sure. How long is this discussion going to go on?
A few more minutes.
Okay. Because otherwise I'm going to make a motion table.
No, you're not. Thank you.
In addition to the zoning code changes that are outlined in this, the other thing that this Unified Development Ordinance does, it also brings in all of our other regulations, particularly subdivision regulations, into one document. Our current subdivision regulations, if you've reviewed them lately, are approximately 12 pages long. completely inadequate for the types of developments that we've been seeing for the community. This document not only addresses the zoning issues, but it addresses the development issues for subdivisions. We now will have clearer guidelines for road design, clearer guidelines for parking lot construction, clearer guidelines for landscaping requirements in parking lots, and other sections of the development. Main things that we did with this code, as you look through it, you will notice there are lots and lots of graphics. We realize that this is not a document to be just used by staff. This is a document to be used by the general public, and quite honestly, a lot of the terms in these documents are legalese. So we felt that, you know, a picture tells the story a lot better than the words sometimes. So we have added a lot of graphics where we feel that that will speed interpretation and understanding of the code and make it a more user-friendly document. Other things that we have done, again, to make the code more user-friendly. If you were to now look into our code and try to find out whether or not a particular business use is permitted in the zoning district in which you're where you propose the building, you might have to look into 3 different zoning sections, zoning code sections before you find that answer. What we have done specifically in Article 5, beginning on page 9, we have a use table. Again, this is in an effort to streamline interpretation, streamline enforcement, streamline use of this document and understanding. Now, if someone were to call us and say, you know, I'd like to really put a museum somewhere in the town, we can clearly see where it would be allowed in there. Other changes in this code is we have attempted to address some of the issues that are prevalent in our current zoning that have actually led to increased number of zoning variations in that. Be honest, when we started this document, or when we started with the original zoning code, we have 8 residential zoning districts right now. When we began discussions on this, I honestly thought we were going to need about 16 to 18 zoning districts to correct what we had with the legal nonconformings. What we have, through multiple discussions, multiple brainstorming sessions and that, what we've actually come up with is 5 residential zoning code sections. Our 1, 2, 3, and 4 stay basically the same. And what we noticed was where the majority of our zoning problems were coming from were in the R5 through R8. So what we have done is we've actually combined those districts into one, which we're calling an RG district, or a residential general district. Our business districts, again, there was a lot of confusion, I think, even just in the title of business district. We're now going to call those commercial districts to try and emphasize the point that this is a an area for retail trade, for services for the residents. It really shouldn't be for your plumbing supply yard. It shouldn't be for your contractor's office, things along that nature. The other things that we've done is, again, pictures and charts are real easy for people to understand and utilize and interpret. In Article 6, we have a page for every type of housing. Starting in Article 6 on page 17, we have a page for every type of development that could possibly, that we envision happening in the community. As you can see here, I'll just go to one of them real quick, which would be a type 2 building, which we're calling a large detached house. It tells you the permitted development districts, the lot width, lot on a corner, the lot width on a corner, the lot depth, the lot area, the lot coverage maximum, everything you need to know for that zoning district on one page. Again, a lot easier than trying to leaf through multiple pages of the documents of the zoning code, trying to find it in multiple locations. We've also clarified and strengthened a lot of our accessory structure regulations. Currently, the code is kind of silent on a lot of issues, and these are issues that have caused us a great deal of problems. We've also, from the development aspect, we've added a lot of regulations as to clarify what should be on a plat of subdivision, what signature blocks are needed and how they should be worded. The development aspect, again, as I alluded to, how things should be designed are a lot better, landscaping requirements. We've also tried to level the playing field and make everything uniformed and designed for such things as land donations, park district, or other taxing body donations, and recapture agreements. With that, that's a real brief explanation of what we've done with this code, and we look forward to in future discussions with you going through this in much more detail.
And I think that's the plan. We'll be going over it in much more detail in the future. The only thing I want to ask is how soon can you get us zoning maps?
Maps will be dependent on the discussion here. The way the plan is to lay out with this is if the text is agreeable, we will then do since obviously there are map changes that are required with this, we would then hold a public hearing regarding the map with the zoning board. Then both the map and the zoning code would come together at a later date.
I want to argue with you on that one. We've talked about this even early on in the process, that the map was a critical component to the text. If for nothing else, that people understand what it is that is allowed in what areas. So is there any way we can get a preliminary zoning map in our hands? Doesn't need to be pretty, doesn't need to be in a
We
bunch
have
of
that right.
colors.
I can have that for you.
But I think it's critical for everyone understanding what it is that they're looking at with this new ordinance. So if unless the rest of staff and yourself really think it's a bad idea, I think it's more helpful. It's going to cause some confusion. I mean, some people are going to get concerned and not like what they see. That's that much more that we can discuss and iron out as we're going through the process, though. So
As long as it's clearly understood that it is a draft that has not been presented in a public hearing, so it will not be an official discussion on the district boundaries.
you made it clear now, and you'll make it clear again every time we look at it, if that's okay with you. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So there's really no action on this, so probably should have been more for information, the report and recommendation. Does anybody have anything they want to add to this, or can we move on? No. Okay, next item is a report and recommendation for the purchase of the interior benches for the train station. John, I'm just going to give this right to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I included in the memo that has some renderings attached to it throughout the construction of the station, we've reviewed several types of materials and prospective styles of interior benches for the train station. Our feeling is the benches on the inside need to echo the architectural style used in the design of the building and also be appropriate for use in a public building. The choice of benches has been narrowed to 3. Each one is a little different style and material. The first one, actually, this is a separate item, Ross, so hold on to that for a second. Yeah. The first style that's attached here is a bench that has cast iron brackets, supporting brackets. The bench materials themselves are made out of plastic wood. This is a type of style of bench that we've been thinking about using on the exterior of the building. People don't seem real thrilled to have plastic wood on the inside of the building, but that is one of the options. To get that particular style of bench for what we need for inside the station would be approximately $3,000. They would need to be assembled on site, though. They don't come assembled. The second style that we've been talking about are having the interior benches custom built into alcoves of the station. And, I've gotten one bid on that. I'm waiting another bid, and then I have another vendor who wants plans to look at to give me a third bid. But initially, we're looking at probably about $6,500 to have custom built-in benches made. The third alternative would be to go with a company actually that makes church pews. They do have an end cap that architecturally fits with what we're doing. They would be custom built, custom fit. I did talk to them today, and he agreed to lower his price a little bit and give us 2 coats of a commercial grade sealant to protect the wood. And so that style of bench would cost us about $7,500. So again, we have $3,000, $6,500, $7,500 for the different styles. So I guess what I'm looking for is a little direction from the council on which way you want us to proceed with it.
Alderman Roy Wesley.
John, you did such a good job on the train station already. Both Johns. What's your recommendation?
I would like to see us go with either option 2 or 3, either with the custom built-in benches, although I would like to get a couple more bids, or the third option would be to go with the
No, just give me a
custom-made
number,
benches.
number 1, number 2, number 3. Which one?
I think the third style, the church pews, is
Mr.
pretty nice.
Cadella, do you have an opinion?
I do, but my opinion's biased. I drew the second one. So if we're going to take a roll call on this, I'm going to recuse myself from the vote, but I like the built-in style myself. The pew looks good, but I think the built-in will fit the space better, in my opinion, and will obviously it'll look built in rather than just sitting there, that's all.
Yeah, I would agree with that, actually. I would go
Well,
with
neither of you helped with my motion, so I'll just stop there.
I'm sorry, Alderman Coles.
I think you say there's another company that wants to, I think we should wait until we see that, what the other company comes up to with. We should make it the style of the inside of the interior, especially when it comes to matching the trim. The trim and the seats have to match. If they don't match, then it's not gonna look good. Plastic seats you could put outside, but inside we'll have to go with the style that's on the inside. Because why ruin what looks beautiful on the inside? And so, we have a little time, don't we?
We do. I mean, I would like to move forward on this, but I agree with you, Alderman Coles. I'd like to get the other two bids for the built-ins, and I think
He's got
they would probably look the
He's got a
best on the
couple
station.
more that wants to bid, so let's wait until they come in before we decide on it.
If they're coming in anyway, so I mean, I guess we could hold off Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Hey, John, are we putting benches outside too?
We are
And
putting
what-
benches outside, and just sort of tied in with that, I went to the Chamber of Commerce luncheon today to approach the members of the chamber to see if they would be willing to partner with the city and go in with purchasing some of the exterior benches in exchange for
For advertising.
either them having a plaque put on the bench or some sort of recognition to them. I'm waiting for an official thumbs up from Metro, though. I want to be sure that they don't feel that we're selling advertising at the station, which is something that I believe they probably have the right to. They like to sell their advertising and put it in the billboards, but I really can't think they would have much of a problem with us going with a plaque style that would acknowledge, who partnered with us. Was requested at the chamber luncheon that I get a memo to them, and they'll put that out in their next newsletter, because there were only about 30 members present at the luncheon, but they have about 600 members total. So they want to put that out in their newsletter. I feel we have a little more time getting the exterior benches, because they aren't going to get much use this time of year anyway. But I would like to move forward. I'd like to get the interior benches done before the Park District needs their temporary benches back for the baseball diamonds.
Alderman Lewiton.
I'd like to say that, to me, the most important thing about the benches is that they should be firmly grounded, that people can't pick them up and move them. And second, that they should be graffiti-free all the time.
I agree with you.
Both good points. You know what? In recognition of the fact that we probably should move forward with this, and we know that you'll never be higher than the price that we have on the second option right now, and might even be lower depending on where these other vendors come in, because that is custom. Knowing that number 3 is a single source vendor, and knowing that I don't think any of us are particularly crazy about number 1, because it doesn't match the style of the station, I would just like to ask everybody right up and down if you have a preference, 1, 2, or 3, and we'll go with majority rules. John's got a direction. When those prices come in, he can move forward. So I'll start with Alderman Winger.
Then question on quantity. So does the price reflect the quantity of benches that would be installed? So for example, option number 3, how many of those benches are going to be installed?
Option number 3 would be 3 benches. There'd be one on the north wall and one on the south wall of the tower area. And then across from the bathrooms, it would be one long 17-foot-long bench with some intermediate supports. Same with the built-in. It would be the same scenario. That's the 3 locations in the station that would have the benches.
Okay, and in the built-in, do I understand that it does not have back support? It would be the window area?
It would just
It
be
would
the
just be the
wall
wall.
itself, yeah.
Correct.
It's, number 2 is very likely the least comfortable option, but it will give you the most seating, because there's no supports or arms in the way. So you don't promote people getting real comfortable there, but you do
Right,
give a lot more
right.
people a place to sit, so.
Okay, and last question, the option number 3, is that a fabric on there, or is it wood?
It's a fabric that's shown on their website, but if they were to construct a bench, it would be solid oak. There would be no fabric.
Good,
on it.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'll go either way on 2 and 3, although I do like the back support of the bench.
Okay, 2 or 3 for you, Alderman Eugene
I
Wesley.
don't like either.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your input. Alderman Coles.
2.
All right, Alderman Roy Wesley,
2 or 3?
2 or 3, and Alderman Lewiton.
Yeah.
Again, I'm asking, are these grounded? People cannot pick them up, they're grounded?
Well, the built-in benches would be fastened to the wall, so they're not going anywhere.
Are they
And if
all
we went with
fastened to the wall?
I'm sorry, what?
Are they all going to be fastened to the?
No, the other style would have to be fastened to the floor.
Okay, but they all will be fastened. And what
Yes.
is the protection other than the cameras against graffiti? And how can they be repaired? Because it's, people come in with their knives and they cut in "I Love Lucy."
Well, again, the station has 5 interior cameras, so every square inch of it is covered, and there's a live feed to the radio room. So if somebody is in there, starts vandalizing the building, I would anticipate that we'll be able to get the police there pretty quickly. I think if we go either with the built-ins or with the custom-built benches, there is a commercial-grade sealant that can be used. We can put a couple of coats on it, build that up, so if somebody graffitis it, if it doesn't wash off, we can just touch sand that off, and then just put another coating of the sealant on it, and that would be how it would be repaired.
I like 2 the best, and I would go with that with my recommendation that they be grounded and that you have the sealant so that the graffiti can be sanded off and it can be varnished so that we have the protective coat back on, and at all times for many years we will be able to look at a non-Chicago style bench.
Yeah. I think probably style number 2 would be the most graffiti-proof, simply because of the fact that it's just a bench, you sit on it, there's no back on it, and they aren't going to be spray painting. So, all right, well, that's,
John, you got my vote on 2.
okay.
Okay, it looks like 2 for 2 or 3 and 2 for 2, so that sounds actually really
Okay.
funny. But, so that's your direction. Do you think you can have prices for our council meeting next week so we can give you final go-ahead to purchase these, or question to Wally, since this is under $10,000, does this even need to come to council? Or if you've got our consensus here, can John keep going?
All right.
Good enough then. All
Okay,
right, everybody,
sounds good.
thank you.
Just one other quick thing at the opening ceremony the other day. It was brought to my attention that we never went forward and had this logo done on the west wall of the tower. I know it was discussed at a meeting, and I have to apologize. But I really didn't recall whether we had approved to go forward with this graphic on the west tower wall. I just wanted to show it to you again. Again, if it's thumbs up, I can get it ordered and get it installed.
It's a vinyl stuck onto the wall.
Correct. It's the same jobber that made the 2 graphics. They would make this as well.
But it's not done the same way. These are individual letters on the wall, or is this like a piece of vinyl wallpaper, almost like the
I
other ones
think they were individual letters, but I can double check that.
See, I worry that the individual letters just looks a little bit on the cheap side, that's all. That's my opinion. But I think somebody down there had their hand up. Alderman Coles?
I thought we agreed to that already.
You may have, and again, I apologize if I
I thought we agreed to
didn't
that.
understand to go forward with it. I mean, we could do the logo with the motto, or we could just do the logo. You guys make the call.
Alderman Winger?
Logo, only. No, the crest. No,
And we could make the logo a little bit larger then too, if we didn't have the,
The text?
text underneath it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm saying remove the text and then make that bigger.
It's a little busy, maybe. That's why it bothers me. Maybe Alderman Winger's right. Yeah? Does anybody else have a problem with just going with the logo? Mr. Mayor?
I'll defer to you on this, but does that detract from the style of the building?
In general, I'm afraid of the whole thing, yeah.
That's kind of my feeling as well, that it's not appropriate for what we've got going there.
I thought I was alone, so I was going to back off. So I just, I don't know. I'm just going to stand with my original. I don't like it. Let's let everybody decide. General consensus wins.
I see logo.
So we got a logo only. Alderman Eugene Wesley? You like everything? He likes everything. I say none of it. I think Mr. Mayor spoke your piece. Joe Coles, I think you said you're okay with all of it, or do you want to?
Now that you talked about it, I'd like to put another picture of an old train up there. That train really gets me.
It is
I
nice,
love that.
yeah.
It's like a a streamliner, you know, something but the old steam engine.
So you're suggesting we look at another graphic, basically, and maybe a train is the way to go, okay?
Yes,
So,
I think that'll look better.
Alderman Roy Wesley?
Say nothing on this.
Oh, come on.
No, that's all right. It's been a rough night.
Okay,
Nothing.
Alderman Lewitton, do you care one way or another?
Well, this is one of those subjects where I've always felt to defer to an expert architect. And if you don't like anything up and you think best to have it plain, then I'll just go along with the way you feel.
I'm not sure plain is the best, but I just, along with the mayor, I'm concerned this isn't in the right style of the rest of the architecture of the building. It's a little too modern to have a adhesive graphic on the wall, I think. So I'd like to maybe see something.
I'd like to say that I like your thinking and I'm following your thought instead of using my own opinion. Actually, my son said it would be, who's 4 years old, said it would probably be best with a picture of Thomas the Tank Engine.
It's kind of nice. Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Don't do anything with it, let it go.
Well, just, you know, again, to bring up, I mean, we do have
Let's look at
one
other
of our
op-
logos on the sign that's on the south side of the building, so we do have a logo on the building.
Picture up there, no, let it go.
Okay.
Get him away.
All right, I would like to talk about doing something up there, so let's put this on a future agenda. Okay, all right, and so before I move on to future meetings, I would like to officially thank staff for all the work on every aspect of the train station. John, as the highest level construction manager and overseer of the project, I was really impressed. I think you did a great job. I apologize for not mentioning you Tuesday. That was wrong of me, so I want to make it up to you here on television. Nice job. Thank you very much. Ross, I know you played a big part in the actual event on Tuesday, and efforts showed very well. I know Mimi Anderson as well played a big role, and any other staff members that I don't know of that participated. I just would like to thank everybody.
Thank you.
And for items to be considered at future meetings, the adoption of the 2009 International Code Council Building Code Group. Is there anything anybody else wants to see in a future meeting,
I
Mr.
do.
Mayor?
I'd like to go back to item 4 for a second. I had the chance to talk about this with the manager. The next 2 months are going to be consumed with the budget, and we're going to have very lengthy meetings. If you want to proceed with this, which I think important as we is prior to the construction season, perhaps a Saturday morning, more of an informal give-and-take session, and going through the whole thing in one morning would be more appropriate. And we can get this done and wrapped up and out.
You have my buy-in for that. Once again, because of our timing in the construction season, I think that may be appropriate. We can discuss that in the near future. Alderman Eugene Wesley?
I'd like to put the CODA group back on the agenda for the Thorndale corridor study, because I'm not in favor of moving forward with that project at all unless we make a decision on a treatment plant, so.
So that should remain on future items, but it's pending us making a hard decision on the treatment plant. I completely agree with that. Anything from anybody else? If not, I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you.
I'm calling to order the Finance and Administration Committee meeting dated February 11, 2010. Will the minute taker please reflect same members present? There is a quorum. And I make a motion to approve minutes dated January 28, 2010. Is there a second?
Second?
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is report and recommendation on the 5-year capital improvement plan. And with that being said, I make a motion to approve the capital improvement plan dated 2011 through 2015 with the addition of the project of Forest View, Oakwood, Edgebrook, Harvey Street reconstruction slotted for 2012, 2013, moving into the funded category. Is there a second?
Second.
Anything on the question? Mr. Daltoit?
3 other items were changed or modified at the last meeting.
Okay.
You added in the design, engineering design for Deer Path Road, which you approved tonight. You directed that we pay for the retaining wall at the northeast corner of Wooddale and Irving Park from the Tourism Fund. And instead of $50,000 a year for street lighting, you directed that we do the longer section at $240,000 in 2011 and the remainder of $120,000 in 2012. And then tonight, the Oakwood Harvey 2013 project. So with those 4 changes, the CIP as was presented to you is what you have in front of you right now.
Okay, and I'll amend my motion to include what you just read off. Does the seconder agree?
Seconder, I do agree.
On the question, Alderman Lewitton.
What about the other things we did tonight? The cedar, the 2 homes, 3, isn't that on there too? Didn't we just agree to that?
No.
That'll be amended later? I know you called for it to come back, but don't you put it in so when it comes back, it's in the budget?
You won't need to do that. If you want to add it later on, we can do it later on. It's probably unlikely any of those will be done in 2011 anyway. So once you all decide if you want to do those projects, what the priority is, we can plug those in. I will tell you that with an additional $3 million in the Oakwood Harvey project, that your cash balance at the end of the 5-year period is now down to about $1 million. So it's starting to get a little bit tight. As I said earlier, you can have anything you want, you just can't have everything you want.
Well,
But when you decide, we can make the changes.
well, just a follow-up to that too, in terms of reconstruction projects, that I'm not necessarily thinking that that's going to be in addition to other projects in the year 2012, 2013. We may need to look at moving reconstruction about. Alderman Eugene Wesley?
That wasn't the discussion we had tonight. The discussion was to add this in the CIP project that is not bumping any other road projects. Now, if that's the case, then I'm not going forward. I'm going to vote again against. That was, we were just told by staff.
That's not what I said.
Right.
Well,
No, that's what I
What I
said.
said was, once you put that Oakwood Harvey project in the CIP, your cash balance at the end of the 5th year shrinks from $4 million reserve to slightly over $1 million reserve. You still have enough money to do that project in 2013. But if you decide you want to spend, $500-some thousand for South Cedar, then that cash balance shrinks a little bit more. And if you want to do $200-some thousand for Catalpa and Windsor, that shrinks a little bit more. And if you want to do $80,000 for North Cedar, it shrinks even more. And your margin for error and your flexibility is now down to very little. Right now, we're in good shape. We've got, before tonight, we had $4 million at the end of the 5-year period left to appropriate, cash on hand. With Oakwood Harvey, now it's down to slightly over $1 million, which limits your flexibility down the line. Let's say that another issue comes up that you want to put into the CIP, you don't have the flexibility anymore that you did prior to tonight. I'm not suggesting you don't do it, and I'm not suggesting that you bump anything. I just want to let everybody know that dollars are finite.
Well, I totally understand that, but I'm just saying, I'm not going to push away other road projects just to fit these road projects in. That's all I'm saying, is when you come back with the CIP project, the road projects that are earmarked already for 2013, or 2012, 2013, is in there along with these projects. I'm not taking one of those road projects off to make room for this. That's what I'm saying.
As I said when we started the CIP project, the CIP discussion a month ago, the only thing you're locking in is the projects for 2011. Everything else is out there as a placeholder, but it's subject to change, and it's subject to you all changing it. It's your call.
And it's subject to budget approval as well, correct? Correct. Okay, thank you. I'm going to recognize down the row, and then I'm going to call the roll, because we need to move this on, and I'm going to start with Alderman Lewitton, and just.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. First of all, my opinion is that what we just are anning, the Oakwood and the Harvey, this is a political concession to the second ward aldermen. They wanted this. When we had the discussion on the CIP, Alderman Roy Wesley specifically said, to the best of my recollection, hold it there. Everybody's getting a big chunk except the second ward. You know, and this was what they put in their request. And I find it perfectly okay, because the money's there, and they've got to bring home the bacon to the second ward. And other 3 wards have got their share already. But what I said tonight is that the property on North Cedar, 359 and 353, that that project should be included. And you said that that would be in, I thought it could, you know, we could get it this year, but you say it's going to be holding a spot for 2012?
Number one, when you make a decision that you either want to do the project or you don't, and depending upon when that decision's made, we're going to have to go out and to design that. And it may be that we won't have time to design it in fiscal year 2011, and the actual construction may not occur until 2012. I don't know that to be a fact, but given the timing of that and everything else that we've got in the CIP, it might be that you're not going to be able to squeeze the full construction into 2011. We won't know until you all make a decision on whether you want to do the project, and we can find a consulting engineer and design it.
I think, just as we did for political reasons, included this project for the second ward, I think that Eugene Wesley and myself have a right to ask for this for the fourth ward, as this is a problem that is important to the citizens of our community. So I'd like to have it in there, even if it's going to be for 12 instead of 11.
If we're going to start doing political divisions here, then we need to circle back on this whole plan.
Well, we already did it.
I'm speaking, I'm supporting drainage issues of sewage and trying to, make sure that certain areas are attended to. They're not in Ward 3, and I'm still supporting these very needed issues. So if we're going to start saying that, 2 million is going to Ward 2 and 1, then we're going to go back to the drawing board, and I'm going to table this, because we're going to go, and Ward 3 is going to be the Taj Mahal of Wooddale, because if I pump 3 million into Ward 3, it will look awesome. And I realize that in some areas, 3 million is just getting a new street, but we will do that if that's what you're proposing.
I'm not proposing, I am reflecting on what we've already done.
Okay. Are you through?
And I would like to see your ward look like the Taj Mahal.
Thank you. Okay, is that it?
Yes.
From your comments? Okay. Alderman Roy Wesley.
The money that... Did I say something? The money that we save on the, possibly save on the construction from the roads, if they come under bid, that money goes back into the CIP fund correctly? Okay. I thank you for the compliment, but that's all.
Alderman Coles.
I don't think I'm going to say anything, because what the heck? I may get deer path done this time. It only took 6 years. I mean, so I mean, I'm not going to say nothing.
Okay. Alderman Cadala. Alderman Eugene Wesley?
Oh, I have nothing else. Let's get this over with tonight.
This is crazy.
This is ridiculous, 11 o'clock.
Okay, so there's a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is, let's see, next item is items to be considered at future meetings. We have A, business license ordinance amendment, B, budget 2010, 2011. Item C, water rate increase from DuPage Water Commission. Is there anything else to be added, Mr. Mayor?
Just to be the conveyor of bad news, Mr. Wilson was at the Water Commission tonight. He just sent Mr. Douthwaite and I an email. Water rates for our costs are going to go up 21% from $1.70 per 1,000 gallons to $2.08 per 1,000 gallons. Our cost, 21% up.
Thank you, Alderman.
We had already budgeted in or assumed 15%.
Good, okay. Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Okay, then if that's the case, Mayor, I think we need to really go back and look at if we gain, and I'm sure we're passing it on to the consumer now, and I think we really need to go back and relook at ours and our increase that we are going to pass on to this.
21%.
If they're going up 21%, which we're going to pass that over to the consumer at 21%, and then our increase that we were going to add on for this one, I really think we need to go back and look at that water rate increase that we are doing and look at another possible situation. So I am asking that to be put on the agenda to be discussed again about our water rates going up, knowing that we know we have to pass on the 21%.
I don't know. Is that necessary if we budgeted for 15% increase and then there's what, 6 left?
15.
And some of the monies that was given already from the commission as a rebate, I mean,
Our
can we make
numbers
this work
assumed
without doing
an
that?
automatic, we assumed a 15% increase in the amount that DuPage Water Commission was going to increase our rates, plus whatever our amount was to handle capital outlay, infrastructure. So it's the 21% that we're going to have to eat that is coming from DuPage Water Commission. And there's another amount, and I don't have the number right at my fingertips, that we have budgeted in each year for
Our increase.
our increases. And I don't have a problem at all putting that on the agenda and going back and giving you a refresher on that.
I believe our increase, Mr. Mayor, if I'm correct, wasn't it like 10%? 10%?
We were going to go from $1.70 to $1.95. This will now require an additional 13 cents to bring it up to the 208.
Okay,
Over and
well,
above our additional costs that we put on for the workers, the system, et cetera. It's just the basic cost of the water will be an additional 13 cents over what you currently budgeted.
okay, so what I'm saying is, let's see how the budget works out, and then we'll see if we need to have that discussion. I mean, because doesn't it essentially start with the overall budget and project it over 3-5 years? Okay.
I just asked to put it on the agenda to discuss in a future meeting.
But I don't want to do that until we see the budget and how it comes out. And if we need to discuss it, we will.
But look how many items we put in future meetings. A brush pickup's been there for 6 months already. Just put it on the agenda for we see it every month, for we can discuss it down the line.
Well, if we see a problem in the budget, then we'll put it on. Okay.
Whatever.
I did go through once, but I will recognize you.
Well,
Alderman Ray Wesley.
Mr. Mayor brought it up about the water rates.
Okay. That's true.
Well,
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, on the question, Ray?
the water rates go in effect in what, May? Our rates go up in effect in May too?
May 1st, isn't it?
The budget goes in effect when? June 1st? I mean, we're good.
You want to get the 5 o'clock?
No, we're discussing it. Oh, shit. Well, we need to discuss it because it's in the budget, so.
I don't know. We're gonna look at the budget. If it works, and if it don't, we'll discuss
Are we
it.
gonna have enough time to adjust that though?
Yeah, because what, the budget's coming in March, right? So I don't think it can go any faster.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
really, I
If
don't
you
think,
feel-
I
if you
don't
f-
think we can go any faster,
If you
right?
think, if you think it could be adjusted at that time, that's fine.
Well,
with
yeah,
me.
but I don't think it could go any faster. Let's
Okay.
look at the budget, and then if we have to do something, we'll do it.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you. So there is a motion, a second adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Is put it listed on the agenda like all
It
these
looks
other
like
things.